combat sports promoter ever. All in a roundtable discussion talking about, I guess, what it means to be a GOAT, and potentially with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, what it means for either of them to reach that status. But I don't think I've ever seen a concept like this outside of the Wade concept. No, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this for a boxing fight build-up. Let's see what happens when a bunch of GOATs sit down and talk about GOAT shit. Once not actual GOAT shit, I mean like the greatest of all time stuff. You get what I mean anyway, the breakdown. Let's go.
So guys, we know that the fight is coming up, so we're going to ask you a few questions. I hope you don't mind. So, Bud.
Shaq is leading this roundtable podcast discussion. This is so interesting. Again, I met Shaq at the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. He was so awesome to me, to my dad. And I know he's a big boxing fan, but this is like a crazy crossover to me. And then Tom Brady sitting there. Dana White, it makes sense because he's going to be promoting this fight, but it's just insane to see. And honestly, a good thing to see this many high-level professional athletes / celebrities involved with a boxing build. I mean, not that the build needs to be around Shaq or Tom Brady or Dana White, but it does feel a bit more like the boxers that they're around become higher level athletes when they're around the highest level athletes that we consider outside of combat sports, if that makes sense.
You think you have enough power to hurt the great Canelo?
Of course. I don't have to.
Tom, what are we doing, Tom? Come on. I know you're Tom Brady. You're the GOAT. You probably got some new modeling gig lined up because it seems like you don't age after you've hit 42 or however old he is now, 45, 46. But can we get off the phone for a second? My man Bud Crawford's trying to talk his shit, all right? Don't make him go over and slap you up with your GQ-looking ass.
So Canelo, Terence is naturally the smaller fighter, quicker, more agile, but he does have a 4-inch reach advantage over you.
So many years I had so many good fights in my career, and I had the experience to adapt myself to.
This man Canelo looks like a full-on kingpin, dude. Look at that freaking Michelin Man coat. That's some Armani shit. He looks like El Capitan, you know what I'm saying? Got the wash on, okay. Flex on him there, Canelo.
How long has this fight been in the making?
No, I never thinking about the fight Crawford. I never in my life. But that's the fun part of boxing. You never know what is gonna happen, right? I'm glad to share the ring with one of the best fighters out there, and I'm just can't wait.
Can I just say, English-speaking Canelo is a gift to humanity. This is awesome to watch because for the longest time, we didn't get a lot of Canelo speaking English at all. And now that we get him talking in full-on conversations in English, it is so sick to see because you get to see the bluntness of the way he talks. Like, yeah, Crawford's had 41 fights, but I'm elite. I'm an elite fighter. It's different. You know, he's humble in his earnestness when he talks about Crawford. Like, no, I never thought about the fight, but that's the thing about boxing is things just happen, and fights you never thought about could become reality. And Terence Crawford's one of the best fighters in the world, so I'm blessed to share the ring with him. That kind of stuff is cool to see, but it's just Canelo speaking English is a gift to all boxing fans.
So even though you see a small fighter, when you look in his eyes, do you see a fighter that could possibly beat you?
No, never.
That's what I'm talking about, man. He's so blunt. Look at Bud's even laughing, dog. Bud knows. He's like, what the heck? But that's the thing is like both of them will say that. Bud will say the same thing. I look in Canelo's eyes. I don't see a guy that can beat me. He'll say the same stuff, but doesn't mean he doesn't respect him. Doesn't mean he doesn't think he's a great fighter because both of them respect and know that they're great fighters. It's just when it comes down to it, both of them believe there's no chance in hell the other one's going to beat him.
How do you see the TKO Boxing League being, obviously you getting involved in boxing and this being your first fight? How do you see it evolving over time?
W question, Tom Brady. Noted GOAT / now seemed to be boxing interviewer. I love it. He asked that like a pure media member. I don't know if there's any note cards, but damn, that was kind of clean.
The way that I'm looking at this is I'm going to start building from the ground up, looking for young talent, up and coming guys, putting on fights sort of UFC style. Shake Turkey has a lot of things.
Shake Turkey again. Turkey Ala Shake somehow. To everybody else, his name is Turkey Ala Shake. To Dana White, and maybe he's got the right pronunciation or something. He's doing different. But to Dana, it's Shake Turkey. What the heck?
This guy is the only guy in the history of the sport that is actually invested in it. Most of these guys just take. Shake Turkey in the last 2 years has invested more money in the sport of boxing than every promoter throughout history. So I'm looking at this thing completely different than anybody ever has.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, we haven't really heard Dana White's thoughts on how he's going to try to reformat boxing, or at least making it his own image with what's now being called Zuffa boxing. I guess that's the name they're going to use. But it did seem pretty simple what he wanted to do, which was make it a lot like how he built the UFC. Try to stack cards with not necessarily the biggest name talent, at least not at the beginning, but the biggest potential for big fights, the biggest potential for entertainment, changing the live experience for the fans in attendance and changing the viewing experience for the people at home. The production of the shows, I'm very interested in seeing that because I do enjoy, I think like most people do that are both boxing and UFC fans, the production of the UFC seems to be, for the most part, way better across the board. They just have a better, more engaging product, whether that's Fight Week, where the way they run their press conferences is a little different, the way they do their weigh-ins is a little different. I'm interested to see how Dana makes that transition, brings that style over to boxing and how it works.
You know, he told me something yesterday that I thought was very profound. He said, every event I do, I lose money, but I just love these guys and I just love the sport. So